You've reached the CEO hotline. This is Krystal Jugarap, business mentor, visibility strategist, community builder, and your new favorite person to have on speed dial. Because you and I both know you are done playing small. This line is for wildly ambitious women founders who are ready to stop winging it and start running their business like a true CEO. We're talking raw, unfiltered strategy, real case studies, and some seriously ceiling-shattering powerhouse CEOs dropping in on the line. So stay on, because this call, it's about to change your business. Don't hang up.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of the CEO Hotline. This is another solo session. And today I'm really excited because we're going to talk about the absolutely viral Jessie Jean Yap Challenge. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this incredible woman, Jessie Jean, was self-proclaimed career confused maybe 7 or 8 months ago, created a whole new Instagram, was just posting, I don't want to say random things. We're going to get into that, but we're posting different things, trying to figure out what she was going to do with her life and her career moving forward. She talked on the camera consistently and grew to 400K plus following in 6 months or less. And because of that, she was attracting a lot of attention, and she packaged it up into a challenge called the Yap Challenge, where it was essentially learn how to talk on camera, grow on social media like me. And she had a $1.2 million launch the first time around. Okay. Then she relaunched it. And I think the last time I checked, it was like a $5 million launch. This is all in the span of a handful of months, less than 1 year. And after she proclaimed herself as career confused. So we are going to dive into it because I think the conversation around this challenge and what everyone's been saying around it has been so interesting. And I think this is such a beautiful opportunity for us to really double down on our own self-leadership. And this is something that I talk about more and more and more with my clients, with the people that I'm around, that when you're putting on your CEO hats, you have to have the discernment to really stay focused about where you actually need to be pouring your time and energy into. And for those of us that are new in business, or those of us that have been in business but have not been seeing the traction that we've been wanting, or maybe you've been on social media for years and you're still at like 1,500 followers and you're like, how did she get 400K followers in 6 months? How do I do that too? It is so easy to get caught up in the comparison trap. And this is why I wanted to make an episode out of this today, so that you can pull yourself out of that trap if you find yourself in it, whether hearing this out loud for the first time, or whether you saw the challenge and you saw yourself in that space of comparing yourself to her success. And maybe you are letting it mean something about you. Or maybe you've just seen yourself do that kind of in various events, right? You've seen yourself do that multiple times, where you're scrolling on social media and you see someone's highlight reel and you're like, why not me? Or maybe I should be doing this, or maybe I should be doing that. The comparison trap can be one of the biggest things to keep you from being actually productive and doing the things that actually matter in your business. So there's 2 responses to this challenge that I want to dive into, and I only have like 20 or 30 minutes for this episode today, so we're just going to cut straight to the point. The 2 responses that I've seen from this challenge are that people are going crazy and they're jumping in and they're getting really excited about it and they're hyping each other up, which is amazing. The second is people are creating content around it. People are leveraging that viral moment, repeat moment, if you will, since she launched twice and hit the 7-figure mark and then some twice, and creating content around it and giving their own hot takes, their spicy takes, their whatever it is, so that they can ultimately share their expertise, gain traction, gain reactions to their reactions. I mean, here I am sitting here also creating content about the challenge. But I think these are the conversations that we need to have, right? Oh my gosh, there's just like hair all over me. What is happening? So I am clearly here recording an episode talking about the challenge. And my goal for this episode is for you to continue to build that confidence in yourself in the path that you're on to build your business and to make sure that it feels so good and so aligned for you, and to also continue to help you build that self-leadership and hold yourself to a higher standard so that moments like this don't distract you, don't have you feeling the imposter syndrome, whatever the case may be.
Okay, I know the episode is just starting to get juicy, but before we keep going, I want to tell you about A Woman's World. It's Harolo's annual summit, one full day, high impact, bringing together founders, coaches, creatives, and women who are actively building something meaningful. Every year the event grows, and every year the energy in that room is something I cannot even fully put into words. You have to be there. We're talking curated speakers, hands-on workshops, and the kind of room where you leave with real clarity, real connections, and real momentum. This year's theme is Level Up. Level up your personal brands, your leadership, and your marketing and sales, and everything we have planned for this year is built around that. If you've been waiting for a sign to get in the room, this is it. Grab your seat through the link in the description, and if you want the best deal in the room, join as a Harolo member first, because members get up to 40% off on top of the original early bird pricing, so you're stacking your savings from day one. Links for both are in the description. Okay, back to the episode.
Now, I want to talk about the people that are actually jumping into the challenge. And my thoughts are that there are 3 different people that have decided to pull the trigger. I think it was a $300 challenge. Correct me if I'm wrong if you're in it. There are 3 different kinds of people that actually did decide to jump into the challenge. The first one is people expecting to replicate her success, because they do get caught up by the vanity metrics. Oh my gosh, 400K followers in 6 months. That's amazing. I want to do that. Let me jump in and recreate her success. The second one is that people recognize that the art of being able to speak face to camera, or even just speak in general, it is a really important skill, especially as an entrepreneur, especially as the face of your business, especially when you're out there building your network and talking to different people. But then putting a camera in front of it, that's a whole different skill, right? But if you're listening to this, I can assume that you probably see big things for your life. And being in front of the camera is probably an inevitable part of what that life is going to look like for you. So that second group of people that are jumping into the Jessie Jean Yap Challenge are the ones that recognize how important it is to be able to refine this skill. And they want to be able to do that. And I think it is important to be able to invest in these different opportunities to refine those certain skills that you need to continue operating at a higher level, operating more efficiently, speaking more effectively, all of those things. Then there is the third group of people that have decided to jump into this challenge. And those are the people that are jumping in out of curiosity, out of doing research, out of figuring out how they're going in there trying to figure out how do they recreate that success from the inside out, not necessarily based on her content, but they're figuring out what her content structure is, what her cadence is, how she's actually structuring the program itself, the challenge itself, to see how valuable it really is, so that if they're going to be creating a program, they're not just finding their success based on talking on camera. They want to see how she's actually packaging it up. I was almost in this category. Okay. I feel pretty comfortable talking face to camera. And there was 100% a part of me that was like, ooh, like, should I be doing this more? But the urge to jump in, it wasn't that strong of an urge, but the urge to jump in for me personally was more out of the curiosity space. And I think that's something that's interesting to talk about too. But let's talk about what I believed really contributed to her success. Okay. So, for one, again, she was a self-proclaimed career confused woman, but she had already created incredible success in her previous business, to the tune of a cumulative $1 million plus, I believe, if I'm doing the math in my head. She had a reel where she literally broke down how much revenue she made every year for her business. I think she was in the wellness space for about 7 years. And I think it added up to in around maybe a little bit more than 7 figures. So she had already seen success as a business owner. Also, she had another account for that business with a large following, a decently large following of 145,000 people. So it's pretty safe to assume that a handful of those folks probably trickled in to her new account that she just created. So she wasn't really starting from scratch. A lot of us are starting from scratch, and it's easy for us to get caught up in, oh my gosh, 400K in 6 months. But yeah, she also had this 7-year runway, this other large account following. And she wasn't starting with an audience and a network of 0. She wasn't starting with a customer base of 0. And that's an important differentiating factor. Another thing that I noticed, because it was so early on in her feed, right? She had only been building for 6 months. I did do the research, the free research, not jumping into the challenge research, but the free research of going through to her very, very beginning posts and actually looking at what the progression was. Now, Jessie teaches you to talk face to camera, and I'm assuming, I'm not in her challenge, and by no means, I probably should have done this in the beginning, is the episode meant to tear her down, because I think what she's done is incredible. But I do think that there's different perspectives that we need to take in consideration when we decide what challenges, programs, etc. are worth our time. Right. So going back to what I was saying, I scrolled back to her very first videos, and her very first few videos were not just a simple, she's sitting there with her mic face to camera. They weren't. They were edited, and they were edited well. That is another skill in and of itself. That is another time commitment in and of itself. That is the thing that I do not like doing. Maybe back in the day, I loved editing content here and there. At this stage of the game, I do not like it. I feel like it takes up so much time. I'm not a fan, and I'm also not really looking to hire anyone for my editing of just like reels and talking videos. So that also did, I believe, heavily support her because the editing style that she had kept it interesting, kept the viewer hooked. I was one of those viewers, right? I also saw, and this might need to be fact checked, but she has spent 6+ figures investing into different coaching. She was a part of Russell Brunson's program. She has had support. She has been able to invest in so many different trainings, right? And that probably is also what is leading her, what led her to all these other bullet points that I'm about to bring up. For one, the editing. She was able to edit it and make sure that the content that she was creating was high quality content. It wasn't simply face to camera, but there were so many more elements layered on top of it. And the next one is that it wasn't just her skill of talking on camera. It was very natural for her. And for one, also, side note, she's white, she's pretty. I do believe pretty privilege is a thing. I do believe that is a factor that we cannot ignore when it comes to social media success. But then moving forward, it was also this commitment and proclamation that she made out loud that she would continue showing up on this new Instagram page long term. AKA, she was not just trying it out. And that's where I think a lot of people get stuck too. If you are really wanting to blow up on social media, I do believe like that consistency needs to be there heavily. You need to be able to make that commitment long term, not just like sporadic bursts of, oh my gosh, I posted so many times this week, and then you go silent for a couple of weeks. She made that commitment out loud, and she was showing up for it. So that's another thing that's, I don't know if a lot of people that are jumping into our challenge are going to be able to commit to, frankly, because being consistent on social media is simply easier said than done, right? Not only are you working up the skill to be on camera and to be able to actually talk in a way that engages your audience and that captures their attention and retains their attention, but you also have to commit to recording the thing, especially if you're one of those people where you still show up and you're like, I don't know what to talk about. Like there's so many layers to it. And that commitment is a heavy factor.
I want to take a pause and ask you a really quick question. Are you still building your business in isolation? Listen, you do not have to do that anymore, okay? I built Harolo, our women's entrepreneurial community, because I knew I didn't want to go into business alone, and I'm tired of seeing other women entrepreneurs still building their business alone. This is a community based on real connection, real resource sharing, and a network of women who actually want to see you win. We're not just here for the superficial follows online and the surface level conversations. We have virtual workshops, mastermind calls, a members only platform, and we also host in person events here in the Bay Area, and we're continuing to expand across the US every month. If you're ready to stop building solo and start surrounding yourself with people who get it, then join us at harolo.com/apply. That's HERROLO.com/apply. That link is also going to be in the show notes. Okay, let's get back into it.
Another thing that I think contributed to her success is that she wasn't just focusing on the consistency. She wasn't just saying, I'm going to post every day for 100 days, and that is what built me to 400K, which I'm sure like she's far past that now. But it was also the fact that she was paying attention to the data. This is where a lot of people miss it too. It's not just consistency for consistency's sake. It's one of the things that I say all the time is we don't do visibility for visibility's sake. She was heavily paying attention to the data. And maybe this is what she learned from all of her training in the past. But she was trying out different content formats, different content styles, different content topics. She was talking about her very vulnerable being content confused. She was literally flipping furniture, seeing if that was going to be a great like money maker for the time being while she was figuring it out. She was also breaking down finances because she's seen that that has worked well for other content creators. And she thought it was a really important conversation. She's open about her finances. And she said, okay, if people love talking about money, let me just talk about my money for a second. And then she wouldn't just follow the trends because she saw that that was working. She would go back at her own data and see what was actually converting for her, what was actually bringing in the metrics that she wanted to see, where her followers were growing, where people were getting more engaged, where it was being shared more often. And then she was recreating that because she did try a couple of those, maybe once, maybe twice, a couple of those trending reels where it was like, I think like a 5 to 7 second, just like random B-roll. And then you put like some inspiring text on top of it. And she said, yeah, I tried that out. It didn't work. And so I'm not doing that again. Okay. She was paying attention to the data and reacting to it. She put actual strategy behind her social media presence, not just consistency. When people are telling you, oh yeah, just post 5 times a day, every day, and you'll be fine, there's so much more to it than that. And my hope is that the people that have been jumping into her challenge recognize that. And that's the purpose of this episode, right? To break down all of those different nuances that come to how does something like this become such a success? Okay. There's a couple more factors that I think led to her ultimate success. Another one being is that she sold where there is obvious demand, obvious demand, and that's social media growth. That is this quote unquote allure of overnight success, which I also want to make sure that that thought that she is an overnight success is broken down in your mind, because overnight success is not a real thing. And again, this is not to diminish any of the incredible success that she had, because what she did, again, is amazing. She has taken the world by storm. But there were years and years and years of investments, of building, of trial and error that brought her to this point. We often think, or something that I have seen, is that when we launch a new business or we pivot, it feels like we're starting over. It feels like we tend to say that we don't have experience, or that we tend to feel that way, right? Oh, this is just a new business. Oh, I'm still figuring it out. But literally all of your lived experience up until that point, whether that's from your personal life, whether that's from your professional life, those are all transferable skills to what you are building now. And she had years, maybe even more than a decade worth of transferable skills from a professional life to be able to pour into this new venture that she just happened upon, that feeling seemingly she just happened upon. And of course, when someone sees social media growth, when someone sees someone growing rapidly and getting all this attention, like those are the shiny things that people are so drawn to. Everyone wants to be a content creator. Everyone wants to have a huge following, right? There's an obvious demand for that. So it was an easy yes for a lot of people of how do I learn to do what you just did. On top of that, another factor is that she was leveraging the hell out of it. She had built the backbone and the structure to be able to hold the visibility. She has. And even though she was mind blown and everyone else around her was mind blown of what was happening and the traction she was already getting, she knew how to approach it strategically. And she capitalized on the momentum that that first launch brought her, that social media brought her. She monetized it and did it very well. And then after the first challenge closed, she started building a wait list. She leveraged the high emotional state of everyone that's like starting to follow her, figuring out what's going on and seeing that they missed out on the challenge. She built out a wild wait list so that when she launched it again, it was even more successful the second time around. She intentionally captured hot leads and brought people on the journey with her. She made it, the way that she talks on camera is very skilled, I will say. Like she has a knack for getting people so comfortable with her. And she's just one of the homies, right? I think she calls her people the Yap homies. So she's very down to earth. She has this natural skill of just bringing people in and feeling like you're just another girl. Like, damn, and you get to be one of my girls if I come be in the challenge with you, right? She allowed people to buy into both the story and the actual movement. Another part is that people buy into and start moving when they see others moving. This is something that I talk about a lot on the community side of things. There's this just innate craving in all of us as humans that we want to be a part of something bigger, right? We want to be a part of the crowd. We want to be a part of this. Oh, you're doing that. I want to do it too. And if we don't see a lot of people doing it, then we hesitate to jump in. We hesitate to take action because it's not natural for us to go against the grain. So when we see all these people are talking about, I want to be a part of the challenge, or I'm in it. Oh my gosh, who's in it with me? Who wants to hold each other accountable? There's that excitement that builds up. And it's so easy for more and more people to say yes. It kind of like compounds and snowball. It has this snowball effect. People want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. They want to feel like they belong to something. They want to feel like they're a part of a movement. So that was what, like at least 7 or 8 different bullet points that I think contributed to her success for this wildly successful challenge that she's now run twice. If she's doing it a third time, I have no idea. Go check her out 100%. I'm going to tag her so you can check her out, so you can jump into that challenge if you're feeling it's right for you. But before we get there, here's why I also don't think it's going to pan out for a lot of the people that do jump into that challenge. For one, they don't have her advantage. This was something that was brought up in a panel conversation that I was listening to at the Flourish Media Conference earlier this year. And I am totally blanking on what her company name is, but her name is Danny, and she's built this wildly successful company in the beauty industry. And one of the things that she mentioned on stage was that I can give you my strategy, but you don't have my advantage. And I think the same applies to here and really to everyone. Jessie's advantage is that, again, she's white, she's pretty, but also she has this natural sense of how to be on camera. She's naturally a good talker. She has a great cadence when she speaks. She has great energy. She has great flow. That is a skill. And yes, people can jump into the challenge and try to learn that from her, but they don't naturally have that. That is her advantage over them. And it might take a lot of people, a lot of work to get to the point of being able to speak the way that she speaks. Okay. Another is that I said this already, but I don't think a lot of people are actually going to commit to showing up as consistently and as hard as she's doing it. How many challenges have you bought? How many programs have you bought where you didn't actually show up and do the work? It happens. It does. And even if you do, even if they are showing up and they're showing up consistently, a lot of those people are going to feel discouraged when they don't see the traction that they were hoping to get the first couple of weeks. People get bored easily, right? We want that immediate gratification. And if we don't see it, then we move on. We feel like we pivot. We need to pivot, go on to the next thing. That didn't work out for me. I'm going to try somewhere else. I also think, and this is probably the biggest one, that when we see someone else's success, we try to emulate that success exactly the way that they did it. And that's when we start taking on strategies that actually aren't aligned. This goes back to LinkedIn. I don't know if I want to say it bothers me, but a lot of people I know have a LinkedIn strategy where they just want to reach out to 500 people a month on LinkedIn and send cold DMs because they've seen it work for other people, but it's ultimately like draining the crap out of them. And they're diluting their voice, they're diluting their message, they're diluting their energy so heavily because they're just trying to fit into this framework and they're feeling burnt out about it and they're feeling stressed out about it because they've adopted a strategy that was never meant for them. And content creation, face to camera, same goes for that. So where I fall is I didn't mind the challenge because I know right now I need to keep my CEO hat and retain the focus that I have. And right now, the focus is on building out this podcast, staying consistent with the podcast, repurposing the content from this podcast. It wouldn't make sense for me to try to keep doing this podcast where I'm already speaking to camera, where I'm already creating long form content, and also simultaneously trying to bring on this other strategy where I am showing up daily on social media and talking about all these different new things. Why does that doesn't make sense? When I can just take this long form content, repurpose it, chop it into smaller bits, and that is already me talking to camera, right? We need to make sure that we are focused on the bigger picture and that we are bringing intention into everything that we do. And right now, my podcast, the CEO Hotline, this is going to be my primary source of content. This is going to be my main communication channel, my main lead gen. This is what I have committed to long term. And I need to make sure I have my discernment to not get distracted by the shiny objects. I feel really good about my skill talking face to camera. But right now, this is the bigger picture. And it's about choosing to master one of the platforms that you're on, one of the communication channels that you're on, instead of trying to do all of the things in all of the places, especially because you saw other people doing it and it's working for them. That's when the quality starts to dilute. That's when your feelings spread too thin. That's when you can't show up the way that you would love to show up. All right. I do need to cut it here because I'm about to jump into one of our virtual networking calls with the Harolo community. If you haven't checked out one of those calls, definitely jump in for the next one. We have them almost monthly. In the meantime, remember that the people that succeed aren't the ones that choose to get all the certifications first, that choose to hustle in silence, that wait for the right moments till they know just a little bit more or till they've accomplished just a little bit more. They move, they show up. And I think Jessie is such a beautiful testament to that. She showed up in her most vulnerable state where she did not know what the future looked like. She built out loud. She allowed herself to be vulnerable. She didn't lead based on her certifications. She just showed up and moved and committed to that movement. And I want the same for you. Success favors action. Fortune favors the bold. I feel like I saw that on like Too Hot to Handle or something, which I hate. But I do believe the notion of it. It's about taking action now and trusting in your journey and trusting in yourself to show up and do the things that work best for you. Do the things that leverage your strengths. Do the things that feel so freaking good because you know, for one, you want more, but also that you're deserving of more. All right. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't already, follow us on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, like all the places, comment all the things, do all the things in all the places. Share this if you really enjoyed my take on the Just Jean Challenge. I am going to include her Instagram in the show notes below so you can also go and support her. And I will see you next week.